Everyone, and how are you? Welcome to Embracing Your Essence on Lilydale Radio. I am Colleen Vanderzijden, the host of the show, and tonight we are going to be talking about finding hope in the dark. So thank you so much for joining me, and as usual, as you join in, please do say hello, your name, where you're from, anything else you want to say, feel free to do so. We are going to talk about, as I said, finding hope in the dark. But before we get to that, we of course have some details. I missed last week because I had Erie Philharmonic, and also my daughter got married, so it was a little bit busy. And I do want to tell you that we are live today, coming from Lilydale, where we have new gas lines, we have new water lines, and we have new roads. It is so exciting. So again, as you're coming in, do say hello. So it has been such a busy time here in Lilydale with all of the construction and everything happening. The roads are almost done. We just have a few more to go. So if you're planning to come this summer, you will be so impressed and surprised by what is happening and has happened here. It's going to be quite something else. And I have to tell you too, look what I have, the Lilydale program book. Oh, let me see if I can get the light so it's not so bad. Here's the program book. The printed version is out. If you want a copy, call the office, the Lilydale Assembly office, and they will send you one. And also you can access that online at lilydaleassembly.org. And if you go, look under the Learn tab, and you'll be able to find the catalog. And you can also go by the date. This summer, you can look at the date and see what offerings are available on those dates. So you can see everything that is happening. lilydaleassembly.org, that's where you'll find it. On Facebook, Lilydale Assembly Incorporated is the official page. And I am Colleen Vanderzijden, a registered medium here in Lilydale. I'm also a certified intuitive life coach. I'm an author. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm all sorts of things. And in this show, we always talk about something to help you live your better life, your best life. And today we are going to be talking about finding hope in the dark. And before I get to that, I do want to say hello to people. So hold on, I've just got weird things happening here on my computer as usual. I'm going to buy a new one, but not till September. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Julie. Hi, Samuel and Tracy and Annette. So nice to see you all here today. One more thing I have to tell you. Oh, my retreat. It's next week, June 3rd through the 5th in Cassadaga, New York. I have just a few seats left. I am going to be closing the registration on Friday at midnight. If you're interested, go to my website, becourageouslyu.com. or ColleenVanderzijden.com. Both will take you there, and you can see all about the retreat there. Just a few seats there, and we are going to be having so much fun helping people reimagine their lives so they can live the life they really dream of. We are going to do so many fun things there. Hi, Chalk. Nice to see you. White Fire Rose. Ooh, I love that name. Hi, nice to see you, and hi, Sue. So as I said today, we are talking about finding hope in the dark. Now, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you may recall that that was the title of a previous episode. I used that title 2 years ago in July, 2020 in July. But tonight I'm going to talk about a little bit of a different angle on this. That was a good episode, but this one's a good one too. So I want to talk about this hopelessness that so many of us seem to be struggling with. Sometimes people have been stuck in a relationship or a job, and although we tried really hard, it just wasn't improving. And it may have felt it was impossible to make a change and go in a different direction. So it kind of felt hopeless, right? Hopelessness shows up in so many different ways. I've had clients who have been concerned about financial issues and couldn't see a way out. They were resigned, feeling as though they were negatively affected by the whims of life, if you will, with one challenging problem after another. They had given up believing they would ever feel better. So why even bother trying? When we're experiencing grief, that can feel never ending, and we might give up hope that we'll ever have happiness back into our lives. We are living in an extraordinary time right now where the energies of the world are shifting. People are feeling a great deal of uncertainty and fear. If you're sensitive to energies or you're empathic, this energy may be adding to your own feelings of hopelessness. And it seems that there are so many of us who are feeling hopeless. We have anxiety. We feel powerless to make a difference in our own lives. And when we hear about the world's problems, we feel even more powerless and helpless to make a difference there. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about hopelessness and how we can reignite hope, how we can get it back into our lives so that even if our lives are a struggle, we can move forward. We can figure out what's happening. So we're going to talk about some things with this. We're also going to talk about some action steps, things you can actually do when you feel hopeless. So when we feel that hope is lost, and sometimes I'll talk to people, or sometimes I've even felt it myself, where it's just like all hope is lost. This is never going to change. It's never going to get better. And we get very frustrated. We get depressed and all of this. What happens is our life energy is actually draining from our body. You know what that's like. That's like apathy, where we don't care. We become unmotivated. We might become depressed. Self-care falls to the bottom of our list, where we eat poorly, or we sit on our couch eating junk all day and we don't get any physical exercise. When we feel like this, it can be a struggle to get anything done. We don't feel like we're accomplishing anything. And because we don't feel like we're accomplishing anything, our self-critical voice will tell us how we're not getting anything done and beat ourselves up. When our life energy drains, this can also be a cause of physical and mental illnesses. Now, on the other side, hope is a feeling. It's when we expect and believe our lives can be what we want them to be. They can be what we want them to be. We may only have the smallest glimmer of hope, but we only need this small spark. That's all we need to move out of feeling hopeless and powerless. And we can change our lives just with a teeny small spark of hope. With that small With that small spark, what we can do is we can take action to go after the life we hope for, the life we want to have. And we can break that cycle of fear, worry, and despair. Even if your life seems to be falling apart, you can increase that spark of hope and move out of the darkness. It is possible. So as I said, we're going to talk about some ideas that will help you reignite that spark and embrace hope. And I will give you some action steps, things you can do when you are feeling hopeless. Now, what I'm about to say right now, the next little bit, is going to be a little bit deep. So stay with me, open your mind. If you are feeling hopeless, you are probably looking for something. You're looking for some guidance. You're looking for some inspiration. You're looking for something to help you feel better. And so what I'm about to say is an idea, a couple of ideas that I've really thought about over a lot of time and that I have used myself to help me when I have been depressed and have felt hopeless. And when I tell people I've struggled with this, they look at me and go, I can't believe it. You're so happy and you have so much energy. And yes, it is possible. It is possible that you can also do the same things that I have done and some of my clients have done to get out of feeling hopeless and getting back to yourself, who you truly are. So as we're going tonight, stay with me. Just a little bit of talking, then I'll get to the strategies that'll help you break some of those patterns that hopelessness tends to get us stuck in. And as we go, if you have questions, of course, as usual, please do ask them in the feed. And as soon as I see them, I will respond. It looks like this show is going to be kind of interesting, and I'll probably turn it into a workshop someday. But until then, so stay with me, go with me. If you want to feel better, this will help you. So hopelessness is a sign that we have disconnected from our soul's light and power. So it's a sign that it's time to reconnect. We are feeling hopeless because we've lost our way due to life circumstances. Perfectly normal, perfectly natural. When we remember that our soul is a part of the divine universal energy, we can step back from those human concerns and reprioritize our thoughts and actions. So if you haven't watched me before, you may not have ever heard anything like this before. But we are soul. We are a soul of love and light, okay? Hopelessness means we have disconnected from that. When we are in our soul's light, what we do is we surrender. Okay? This is not giving up in despair. A long time ago when I heard this phrase that we needed to surrender in order to really accelerate our spiritual growth, I, being a very controlling person, was like, no way, I am not giving up. I am going to power through. I'm going to keep going. But then I realized this surrender is a different kind of surrender. It's not giving up in despair. It's allowing ourselves to get out of the way, allowing ourselves to be guided by the divine energy. We stop trying to control. We stop resisting our situations and our emotions. We allow and accept whatever is happening. That is the definition of surrender from the spiritual perspective. You have the power of choice. Although it appears your mind has free rein and does whatever it wants, you have the power to break that downward spiral of hopelessness. When you choose to step into your soul's power and allow yourself to be guided, you can break that pattern of falling into that downward spiral. It is possible. What you do is you choose to look at hopelessness in a different, more empowering way. So in surrendering, we stop resisting. We accept that life can be challenging and hard, and that change and uncertainty are a given. And at times it's going to be painful. Sometimes we won't know the answers. We won't know if we'll find a new job, if we'll meet that perfect person that we want as a partner. We won't know if we're going to get more money. We won't know the end result of our health concerns until we reach that point. When we choose to surrender and move into acceptance, accepting what is, we let go of the worries of the future. We don't have to. We don't have to be there anymore. We choose to live in the present. So rather than interpreting our situations and moving into that negative what if phase where we start looking for the problems, we stay in the present and focus on facts rather than on those possibilities and conjecture. So with this, and don't worry, I will explain how to do all this and some ways to help you get there. But really, it's opening your mind up to this idea that how important surrender and acceptance is, because our pain really does come from focusing on our problems. We create it. So in surrendering, we trust. We trust. We trust we will be guided. We trust that everything we're experiencing is there to help us return to our soul's light. You have that light. It has not gone out. You may believe you're not connected to the divine universal energy, but you are. You are at all times. This is part of that spark, the spark that lights up your hope, the spark of your light, of your love. Our human mind is generally fear-based, isn't it? Right? We are always looking for problems. We look for potential problems. We look on the horizon for the next problem. We make problems up in our head. All of this is what's causing our misery, our pain, and our suffering. In the concept of surrender, very, very important, we allow the divine energy to take care of the details. We don't look for the problems and we don't focus on them. I don't have to know where I'm going because I trust that I'm going to be guided. And Leanne is saying surrender is truly magical, and it truly is. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be magical even, right? Using her word, to let go of all of that stuff that is blocking you from living your most joyful life. And surrender is the way to go there. Where we move into surrender, we accept and we trust. I surrender to the idea that life is as it should be. And if that is true, and it is, then there is nothing to worry about. And I hear you, whoever you are out there who is arguing with me, and I'm going to talk to you in a second. In surrendering, what happens is I get back into the flow of my soul's energy. Okay, the soul, who we truly are at our core level, which is so much more important than who we truly are in the physical level. It's important to have a physical life. We want to have a good time here. We want to experience everything we can possibly experience and have as much fun and meaning and purpose as possible. But when we're living from our soul and we get back into that soul's energy, we are one with the divine energy. And what this means is that our soul is always in that flow of the spiritual, and it means we're always in the flow of hope. Okay? So isn't this interesting how I'm talking about hopelessness and how we can get there in terms of surrendering, accepting, and trust? So how do we put this into action? Okay, now I'm going to get to some action things for you. So what can we do, right? You know me. If you've watched me before, you know I'm a big how-to person. Thinking about this and what we can do. How can we move into living from this perspective of surrender and acceptance. What we want to do is we want to interrupt our patterns, what we've always done. Part of the reason we get stuck in hopelessness is that our mind does its own thing and it takes us down, 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 and we don't even know how we got there sometimes. We could be feeling okay one minute and the next thing we're feeling hopeless and we feel like our life is never going to get better and we're never going to be happy, blah, blah, the whole bit, right? So first, the very first thing, the most foundational, is to consider the idea that you do have the power to go in a different direction. You don't have to stay stuck in hopelessness. And as you shift your perspective and move into surrender and acceptance, you're strengthening your power and your connection to the divine energy. Okay, now, to the person or people who are out there now saying, Colleen, you don't understand. I can't stop my mind. I can't get out of feeling helpless. I can't get out of feeling hopeless. I don't want to accept what's happening. I'm going to fight against it. I refuse to let it be this way. And I know there's at least one of you out there saying that because I can feel it coming at me. I get it. I've been there too. What I've learned, and this is so, so, so important, it may help you embrace this idea, this new way of looking at life and allowing yourself to be fully in your soul's power and your soul's light. What I've learned is that when I finally understood that surrender meant letting go of my troubling, painful thoughts and emotions, that it meant letting go of the idea I could somehow control the uncontrollable parts of life. And we know we can't, but we try awfully hard, don't we? Surrender also means it's letting go of the idea that I had to suffer because I had tough situations. As soon as I recognize this, that surrender is letting go of those things that are blocking my path to joy. As soon as I did that, my whole life changed. I understood that even though I might have traumatic and painful situations, if I accepted them, which was a struggle, I will admit, if I accepted them, I processed my emotions faster. I could think more clearly, which meant I could handle my situations easier because I was thinking better. I was also happier, even if I had painful situations. I realized that everything was an opportunity for me to reconnect to my soul's light. So although you may want to argue with me, and although you might feel like, no, it's not possible, if I accept what's happening, it's not possible, it's not going to help me, I hear you, I understand. I've been there. I and my clients have seen miraculous shifts when we've opened our minds to a new way of looking at life. So even if you don't believe me, think about what I'm saying. Consider this idea. Because if you do that, just open your mind a little bit and consider this, it will actually strengthen your hope and give you more hope. If you're on a spiritual path, which so many of us are, and if you're watching my show, you probably are, right? If you're on a spiritual path, don't we want to live from our soul's light? We do. And when we live from our soul's light, connected to the divine universal energy, we are in the flow of that energy. We are a part of it, which means we don't have to do the human thing of controlling, looking for problems and focusing on them. We don't have to. So if we don't have to, let's not. Let's just not. Samuel is saying, like Buddha said, attachment equals suffering. Yes, and we did a show on that just a little bit ago talking about attachment. So with this, when we surrender, we let go of the attachments. We let go of our attempts at controlling the uncontrollable. We let go at telling ourselves the story of how awful our lives are. We choose to do this because we know, and I mean know in capital letters, K-N-O-W, capital letters. We know that we are guided. We know the universe, the divine energy is going to help us. Leanne is saying it is possible. Take the time you need to work through the emotions of what you're facing, but don't camp there, right? Don't make camp, right? Hopelessness diminishes when you choose. You choose. You use your power. You have the power of choice. You choose to surrender, to move into that acceptance and the trust. Nothing will change if you don't choose to go in a different direction. Now, of course, there may be some of us who are very much struggling. We've so much going on in our lives. And of course, if it's so overwhelming that you need professional guidance, definitely find a licensed mental health professional to help you process things. We have been living through a tough time, and a lot of people have suffered through many losses and much anxiety and fear, and the uncertainty is just so strong. And if you can find, and there are many good licensed professional health professionals out there, they will help you. And so there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So you can do that as well. So now for some action steps. These are things that can help you break the pattern of when you get stuck in that hopelessness downward cycle, that spiral down where it feels like you just can't get out of it. You can't dig your way out. So the first one to think about, as soon as you become aware of your worries and your fears, choose to be present in this moment. That will break your pattern of spiraling down. Choose to be present, because what's happening in hopelessness is we are projecting onto the future, right? Even though things are happening now, we're catastrophizing it, okay? And we're getting really stuck in those emotions. So to be present, to get there and be present, what you want to do is to breathe, feel your breath. You want to get back into your body. Okay? You want to be into your body, out of your head, into your body. So you breathe and you feel your breath. You notice the deep inhale and exhale. You feel the air going into your lungs, and you notice the expansion of the lungs in your body. You stay connected to your body and you feel it relax. You keep breathing deeply and you're paying attention to your body. You notice your legs, your feet, your arms, the back of your head. You might notice areas of tension. If you notice those, you keep breathing and you relax into them. Are you just going to relax? You keep breathing and noticing, and you do this as long as you need to move your energy into the present moment. It's so simple. And because it's simple, sometimes we think, oh, that's not going to help. This is the fastest, quickest way to break that cycle where you feel hopeless. You breathe and get back into your body. It gets you out of your head. Your mind is what is causing the problems. We want to give your mind some space so you can let go of those worries and stress and break that pattern. So the next thing to do to be present, noticing your body, noticing your breath, noticing how you feel. Pay attention to all your details, how your body feels, the skin, inside, everything, tension, relaxation, the whole bit, everything. You may even feel energy in there. Next, what you want to do is to notice your surroundings. So open your eyes and look around the room and pay attention to the details. What do you see? What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? What items do you see? Take an inventory and really pay attention to what you see. Listen. What do you hear? If I were doing this now, I would still hear the construction people down the street because they are still paving the roads. What do you hear? Pay attention to the sounds. Maybe you hear the creaking of my chair. Maybe you hear those sounds. Maybe you hear the birds outside. Maybe you hear somebody walking, somebody talking. Maybe you hear the whirring of a clock. Whatever you hear. What does the room smell like? Do you feel a breeze or heat on your body? What we're doing is we're observing our bodies. We're observing our surroundings. We're observing it without judgment and without fear. We're just noticing, simply noticing. This will help you accept life as it is. And I know somebody just said this, but my problems are much bigger than this. Yes, it is. Yes, they are. That's okay. Because what happens is you learn to bring yourself back into your body. And when you, again, look at your problems, they're not as big as you thought they were. Even if they're big, they're still not as big as you thought they were. Your mind loves to play tricks with you. So as you do this, you're becoming more objective rather than emotionally reactive. Do you see the difference? You've become objective. You're noticing. I don't sit here and look at my lamp and go, oh, look at that lamp. Well, I can't believe that lamp. That's the worst lamp ever. I can't stand it. I'm not reacting. I'm noticing there's a lamp. I'm noticing there's light coming from it. I'm noticing the colors. I'm noticing the shape. I'm noticing the light reflecting on the wall. Okay? It's not threatening or scary to objectively look at our surroundings. This helps you, and it really does, helps you strengthen your ability to observe without being emotionally reactive. Then you'll be able to transfer this technique when you have a problem, when something is in your way. Sometimes people will say that this is so simple it can't possibly work. But I always say that the simplest ideas are the most profound. Really, life is supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be easy. We are the ones who make it more difficult. We're so good at that. We're the ones doing it. But this is so important. If you fully experience the present moment in your breath, your body, your surroundings, you will begin to move out of hopelessness. You'll disentangle from your emotions. You'll get unstuck and you'll break that hopeless thought pattern. Anytime you have a problem, you can do this. Get back into your body. It calms your central nervous system down, it calms your mind down, and then you're more clear and you can handle what's ever happening. So then once we have given our mind some space, okay, we need some space. We need to calm ourselves down, put out some of that fire in there that's out of control. Then what we want to do is explore our emotions. When we feel hopeless and powerless, our emotions can be painful, right? We get stuck in that worry and that fear. We feel despair, all of these things. Our natural reaction is to try to control them so we feel better. And we do this in different ways. We resist them, we push them away, we hide them, we suppress them, we deny them, we wish we felt differently. We don't want to go there. But in surrendering, we know that everything we're feeling is necessary for our soul's growth. So we allow our emotions to come to the surface. We want to honor how we truly feel. Sometimes we don't want to feel because we think it will be too much or it will never end. We'll get stuck in it forever. It'll be too much. We resist them, which is, of course, the opposite of accepting. Now we want to surrender and accept. When we resist our emotions, we don't feel them, we are resisting them, and we're not accepting them. I have found that 1 to 2 minutes of sitting in the emotions is usually enough to process them, or at least start processing them. Sometimes, however, we do have some heavy emotions, really big ones, and we have to process them in layers. Okay? To make them easier to handle, one technique that helps is to name the emotions. What exactly are you feeling? Lots of times we think happy, sad, angry, scared, and that's all we think of, but there are finer nuances within all of those emotions. So are you angry, sad? Are you dejected? Are you disappointed? Are you disillusioned? Are you lonely? Are you feeling empty? Are you feeling guilty or vulnerable? What exact word best describes how you feel? When you can find that word that best describes how you feel, you understand it better. It's so simple once we see, because when we say, well, I'm depressed, okay, we all know what depressed means, but exactly how are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling angry over something? Are you feeling fragile because you feel like you're going to just have a breakdown or something? Are you feeling abandoned? No one's there for you, and that's creating or causing this depression. So knowing how you truly feel can help you release it and figure out how to move forward. You can even try giving it a personalized descriptive name, like Angry Annie or Sad Sally or Worrying Wanda. What this does is it helps externalize the emotions. So it takes it outside of ourselves, moves it outside of ourselves, so we're not so entangled up in them. You know, Worrying Wanda is acting up today, and she's overthinking and creating disasters when really it's not that bad. Once we start doing this, we can say, oh, Worrying Wanda, go away. You're driving me crazy. You're not even telling me the truth. It's easier to let it go. And sometimes we can even learn from our emotions. And then we do feel better and can move forward. Another idea to try when you have a lot of emotions that you're trying to work your way through, or even one, and it's there and you're not sure how to take care of this, what to do. Sometimes people, I had a client once who had a fear that she would lose control at inappropriate times. Like she would be upset at work or in the store or something, and she didn't want to do that, of course. So I told her that something she might want to do would be to set a time, an emotion time, a time to sit down and feel the emotion. Okay, where you plan it ahead of time. Monday at 4 o'clock, I am going to sit down after work, after I've relaxed a little bit, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to really dive into my sadness, my fear, my vulnerability, whatever it may be. And what happened for my client when she did this was that she made this an intentional choice, making a pre-planned time. This was different than it might be if we're pushing our emotions away because we don't want to feel them. We're saying, I know they're there, but I don't want to experience this at work. It might not look good, so I don't want to do it there, but I am going to do it at 4 o'clock on Monday. So I set that time, and she found that when she did this, that by the time she got to 4 o'clock on Monday, it was like her mind had already done some of the work behind the scenes without her having to make much effort. So she had processed some of the emotions by allowing her mind to just start working on it without her actual input. And it made a huge difference. And she got through the emotions so much faster. Now, to move on to another thing that tends to pop up when we have hopeless feelings is we have this obsessive thought habit, worryings and obsessive, and where we repeat the same thing over and over. As soon as you notice you're in that spiral, redirect your thoughts to a new, more positive direction. So what you do, and I have played with this many a time now, and it really helps me because sometimes at night especially, my mind can just start going on something or I'll get anxious for no reason. So what you want to do to redirect your thoughts is you intentionally remember something you truly love or enjoy and think about it with as much detail as possible. It could be a situation, a place, a person. For example, you could think about your partner and you could relive your relationship, where you met, how magical it was, who said what when, places you went. Now, this has to be a relationship that you love, okay, not a bad one. The whole point is to go for positives here. So you want to think about something you love, something you enjoy, someplace you want to be. You could think about the perfect vacation you took. And what you want to do is you want to pay attention to all of the details, as many details as possible. Use all of your senses, how you felt physically, mentally, emotionally, what you saw, you heard, you smelled. Every time your mind wanders away from the negative, and it will, you will use your power to redirect it to the story you're telling yourself. Okay, the positive story you're telling yourself. This is the story that you love to tell yourself, something fun. There's so many different ways. I might use the beach sometime, of course, and remember what it feels like to be at the beach and the sun and the sand and all that stuff. And I just keep going back to it over and over and over. What happens with this is you're using your power, number one, but your energy will shift and you'll become more positive. And as you do this, you're reconnecting with your power, the soul's light and power. Every time you do this and you play with this idea, you're showing yourself, your soul, I've got this, I'm going to do the best I can to move out of feeling hopeless, and I'm going to focus on the positive and tell the story. You'll have to be persistent with this because you know how our minds can go. But with each time you practice and play with it, the easier it becomes. It's really magical when this happens. And the last part of the surrender and acceptance thing is the trust aspect. One of the ways that we lose hope is with our attachment to specific outcomes, right? We want what we want when we want it. So we feel hopeless and powerless because life isn't going the way we want it to, right? We have that uncertainty. We don't know. We don't know the ending, the conclusion, the solution. We don't know if someone is going to respond to us the way we want them to, all of that stuff. Okay, we're attached to wanting to feel better. And that's part of the reason why we push our emotions, the negative, challenging emotions, away. That's why we push them away. because we want to feel better. So we think, well, I'm just going to ignore them and I'm going to be over here because this is what I want. And part of it is what we have been taught in terms of manifestation and those things, where it's like, well, if you want something, focus on it. Unfortunately, that's not the whole story of manifestation. We have to also deal with the other side of it too. If we're denying our emotions, the negative, challenging ones, that means we're also denying the positive ones. So until we handle both sides of it, we will not experience more joy because we have to handle the more challenging emotions. So we have to stop pushing them away and honor and feel them. So much of our misery is because we are attached to certain things that we think will make our lives better. So when you release attachment to those specific outcomes, you're trusting. You're surrendering and accepting, and you're trusting that divine energy will guide you. It's so funny because it took me a while to get the hang of this whole surrender and acceptance thing. And I've been on the spiritual path for 20 something years now. And I've been teaching it for, oh my goodness, I don't know, at least 12, at least 15. So I've been teaching these ideas for a very, very long time. And it was so interesting because, for example, and I use similar examples in my book, of course, but I was thinking about more recently, and I was selling my little house here in Lilydale, and I hadn't heard back from the person after they had somebody come and look at it, and I was concerned that they maybe they weren't going to buy it after all. So I started to get a little bit worried. I started to get concerned, and I recognized immediately, as soon as I felt those emotions, I thought, what am I doing? I'm attached again to a specific outcome. I want to know the ending of the story. And every time that came into my head, I paused and I stopped and I said, I trust it's all going to work out as it's supposed to be. And by doing that, I'm showing the universe, I'm showing myself that I'm surrendering. I'm allowing myself to be in the spiritual flow. I'm allowing myself to do it. I'm getting out of my way and I'm allowing myself to do this. So when we trust, we are surrendering. If you're stuck wanting something, you don't know the ending, all that stuff, this is huge because this is what causes so much of our misery. If you notice this, pause, stop, look at it. What are you doing? Even the simple act of saying, I trust it's going to work out, is usually enough for us to step back a little bit and go, okay, I'm going to try really hard. And you just keep repeating it to yourself. And as you surrender, you're trusting the divine, right? We're not alone. We feel like we're alone. We feel like we're the only people who are suffering in whatever problem we have. We feel like we're the only people who are feeling hopeless. But we're not. We're not alone. We are all part of that oneness, which means what you feel, I feel. What I feel, you feel. We're all picking up on everybody else's energies, especially if you're a sensitive or empath. So we are not alone. We can step into that soul energy and trust the divine. When we trust and surrender, we're trusting ourselves to feel the emotions and honor them as we should. We're trusting and believing in ourselves enough to honor our soul and live in our soul's light. Hopelessness is so interesting. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I did talk about this a couple of years ago. A couple of different ideas there, but I did mention surrender in that one. And that was towards the beginning of the pandemic. And now, after having gone through it for much longer, and some of the other things that have happened in the United States particularly, as well as in the world, a lot of people now are telling me how hopeless they feel and how helpless and powerless they feel. It's a natural response to from people who care. If you care about other people, you can't help but feel a little bit powerless at what is happening. How some people are being marginalized and attacked and killed and all sorts of things. It can be a struggle for those of us who are sensitives and empaths. What can we do? We want to do something, right? We want to help. And there are physical things we can do to help people. One of the biggest things we can do is what I have been talking about all night, which is surrendering and accepting. It's a tough one in some of these situations. But when we surrender, remember we're connecting to our soul. We're trusting the divine to guide us. The divine may guide us. Is that what we can do physically to help people? Simply adjusting our own vibrations, simply stepping into our soul's light and power, simply reconnecting to the divine energy is helping the world. You may not think it is, but it is helping the world. You know how it is when you're standing next to somebody or you're talking to somebody and you just feel good, you know? They see you, they get you, the vibration feels good, you feel wonderful. That's what you're creating. As you do these ideas, as you consider these ideas, not only do they move you out of feeling hopeless and powerless, they're strengthening your power, your light, so that you will feel better and you will also be positively impacting everyone around you without you having to say or do anything except being you in your soul's light. It's really miraculous when you think about it. It's miraculous. This is a big concept, as I said. This is deep. This is a very, very deep concept. But I had a feeling that you would understand me tonight. And you would understand how important this concept. Surrender. Get out of your way. Let go of your control. Acceptance. Accept the things you cannot change. If you can change it if you want to. Accept what's happening. Then process those emotions. Be in the present. Don't tell yourself a story that gets you stuck in pain and misery. Okay, be in the present. Get back in your body. Get out of your head. Feel the emotions. Get into trusting. These things will help. Hi, Samantha. I'm a little delayed. Look at my comments. Oh, thanks. You're so sweet. Yes, it is amazing, isn't it? We are living in quite the time. But that is all I wanted to talk about tonight, which was hopelessness, finding hope in the dark. You are alive today because your energy matters. Your energy is making a difference. You are making a choice to make a difference. That's why you are alive today. Your purpose is to make a difference. And while you do that, you end up feeling better. It's amazing. It is miraculous. So I just want to remind you, lilydaleassembly.org. Check out the program book. Woohoo! There it is, finally. Okay, make your appointments for the summer if you're coming to Lilydale. You're going to love the new roads. So exciting. Check out my book if you haven't seen it yet. Chapter 1. You can get it for free on my website, becourageouslyu.com. Also ColleenVanderZuyden.com, same place. Surrender this week. Think about it. Oh, think about it. Just play with this idea of letting go and allowing the universe, the divine universal energy to guide you. I will leave you with that wonderful thought. Play with this and see what happens. You might be surprised. One of my favorite intentions and affirmations is I surrender to more good than I can possibly imagine. You might try that. That may help you. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. Maybe I'll talk about manifestation. Let me know if you want me to talk about that. That might be fun to talk about. Anyway, you have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye.